How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. Okay, so today we're talking about beat 'em ups. Well, one beat 'em up in particular. But before we can get to that game, we have to talk about these other two games first. Just for a second, though, because they've already been covered in previous editions of the Summer of 8-Bit. Okay, first, we have Renegade. Now, Renegade might be one of the most important beat 'em ups ever made. Why? Because it spawned, in a manner of speaking, of course, it spawned Double Dragon. Now, not this version of Double Dragon in particular, but Double Dragon as a franchise, because Technos Japan handled both titles. The arcade version of Double Dragon was published in the US by Taito, who published Renegade. Now, the NES version of Double Dragon came out 1988. NES version of Renegade, probably 1986, 1987, something like that. In 1990, the game we're going to talk about today came out. It is definitely an inferior title to the aforementioned games. Definitely inferior to Double Dragon. It was published by Taito, like the other, like Renegade was, and it's one of those instances where Taito gave publishing rights to a company after the original Renegade was released, and that company decided to milk it for all it was worth. I'll get to more of that in a second, but today's game is Target Renegade. Okay, so back to that story. Ocean was given publishing rights for different home computers throughout Europe for the original Renegade. Well, Ocean was also given the rights to produce their own sequels to Renegade for those computers. And they released Target Renegade on the ZX Spectrum, Amstrad PCP, Commodore 64, and a number of other consoles in Europe. And they also released Renegade 3, the final chapter, on those computers, but we're never going to talk about that. Ever. Taito decides that they want to release Target Renegade on the NES, so they port it to the NES. And after watching gameplay footage of Target Renegade for those different PCs, we kind of got the short end of the stick with this game in general. As awesome as the cover art is, that's how completely bland the gameplay for Target Renegade is on the NES. Character movement is slow and clunky. The controls are broken. You only get one life, but that's not a problem, because as hard as Double Dragon 3 is with one life, it's actually fun. The controls aren't broken. It's playable, so it's just a hard game. Well, Target Renegade kind of has that same difficulty level that Double Dragon 3 has, but it's because the game is just a poorly developed title. The only good thing about the game may be the soundtrack, in my opinion, and the soundtrack for the Commodore 64 version far superior to the soundtrack for the NES version. Honestly, I can't in good conscience recommend Target Renegade to anyone. It's a pretty bad beat 'em up. I own a copy primarily to I bought this game primarily for the Summer of 8-Bit. So there's that. I'll probably use a donor cartridge somewhere down the line. But yeah, if you want to beat them up on the NES, there are much better ones on the NES, namely Double Dragon, the original Renegade, Mighty Final Fight. There you go. This has been the 8-Bit Animal, and I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow.